The tension was palpable from the moment Meghan Markle took her seat across from Piers Morgan on what was promoted as a bold and uncensored interview. For weeks leading up to the broadcast, tabloids and talk shows speculated about the showdown, reigniting interest in the long-standing grudge Morgan held following Meghan's rise in the royal family and his own perceived snub. The opening exchange was polite but icy, with Meghan offering carefully worded responses to questions about her foundation, family life, and media portrayal. But it didn't take long for Morgan to abandon the formalities. With narrowed eyes and a smirk that barely disguised his disdain, he fired off his first pointed question: "Do you ever take responsibility for the chaos that seems to follow you?" Meghan, composed but visibly bristling, replied, "I speak my truth." If that creates discomfort, maybe the issue isn't the truth, it's who's hearing it. The audience tensed. Piers pressed harder, questioning timelines from her Oprah interview, accusing her of manipulating public sympathy, and suggesting she had rebranded victimhood into a global product. At one point, Meghan asked, "Are you here to ask questions? Or confirm your own bias?" The room went quiet. What followed was a rapid unraveling of civility. Piers raised his voice, calling her a masterclass in selective accountability, to which Meghan calmly unhooked her microphone and stood up. "This isn't a conversation, it's an attack. And I've had enough of it." As she walked off the set, Morgan threw his hands up and declared, "If you can't handle questions, you don't belong in the spotlight." But the clip told a different story, one that millions would soon see and dissect across every major platform. Asterisk. The fallout from the dramatic walk-off was instant and explosive. Within minutes of the broadcast, clips of Meghan leaving the set mid-interview flooded social media, igniting a firestorm of commentary from every corner of the internet. Hashtags like #Piers vs Meghan, #walked, not kicked, and #media bullying trended globally as users rushed to dissect the confrontation frame by frame, while Morgan's loyal followers applauded what they saw as a no-holds-barred moment of journalistic bravery. An even louder chorus pushed back, accusing him of staging a hostile ambush under the guise of journalism. Prominent journalists, public figures, and mental health advocates weighed in. "It wasn't an interview," one commentator tweeted. "It was an interrogation laced with resentment." Meghan's defenders pointed out how composed she remained in the face of repeated interruptions and condescension, while critics of the broadcast questioned whether Morgan ever intended to engage in good faith dialogue at all. Meanwhile, media watchdog groups began calling out the broader implications, raising concerns about the ethics of booking high-profile women, particularly women of color, only to bait them into conflict for ratings. Morgan, never one to retreat from controversy, leaned into the chaos. On his next broadcast, he addressed the walk-off with smug defiance, playing the clip again and again, calling it a victory for truth over spin. But not everyone agreed. A petition demanding an apology to Meghan Markle gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures within days, while segments from mental health experts decried the psychological tactics employed during the interview. Amid the noise, Meghan remained publicly silent, releasing no further statements, but quietly continuing her work with her nonprofit, posting only a single photo days later, her sitting with young girls at a community garden, smiling, grounded, and far from the glare of hostile media. That one image, simple and uncaptioned, carried more weight than 1,000 viral clips. Asterisk as the debate around the interview intensified. The conversation moved beyond the personalities involved and into the larger cultural context, media bias, racial dynamics, and the ethics of platforming conflict for profit. Analysts from across the spectrum weighed in, from academic circles to late-night comedians, each dissecting not just what was said, but how it was said. One viral breakdown came from a university professor who specializes in media framing, showing how Morgan's interruptions, tonal shifts, and repeated insinuations followed a familiar pattern of control. Ask, accuse, interrupt, repeat. It wasn't just about challenging Meghan's narrative. It was about cornering her into defensiveness. In sharp contrast, Meghan's restraint throughout the encounter, her refusal to shout back or trade, barbs began to resonate as an act of quiet defiance. Even those who were previously skeptical of her media presence began to reconsider their stance, pointing out that her walkout wasn't petulant, it was protective. In podcasts, radio call-ins, and YouTube reactions, viewers voiced exhaustion. With the pattern, bring on a high-profile woman, set rhetorical traps, and claim victory when she refuses to play along. Meanwhile, advertisers affiliated with the network began to feel the pressure. A handful discreetly paused promotional spots during Morgan's show, while one global brand pulled its campaign entirely, issuing a statement about the need for respectful discourse in media environments. The network responded with calculated vagueness, neither condemning nor endorsing the segment, but clearly recognizing the backlash. Still, Morgan's team doubled down, releasing teasers for upcoming episodes that leaned into the controversy. But the more they tried to capitalize on the chaos, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a viral moment, it was a mirror. A reflection of how media often chooses spectacle over substance, and how some voices are invited to speak only to be shouted down. Meghan's exit from the studio may have been abrupt, but the cultural conversation it sparked had only just begun. In the days that followed, Meghan's decision to disengage from the toxic back and forth was widely viewed not as a retreat, but as a calculated move of power and self-respect. While Morgan fanned the flames, appearing on other talk shows, penning editorials about free speech under siege, and likening Meghan's exit to an authoritarian's intolerance for uncomfortable truths, the Duchess remained notably quiet. That silence, however, spoke volumes. Instead of responding directly, Meghan allowed the footage to speak for itself, trusting the public to see the imbalance of the exchange. And they did. Influential voices across media and academia began publishing long-form essays unpacking the broader implications of what had transpired, the way women, especially women of color, are invited into open dialogue, settings only to be treated as adversaries the moment they assert themselves. As the controversy matured, people started asking harder questions. Why are female guests consistently interrupted more than male ones? Why do some hosts confuse antagonism with integrity? Meghan's decision to walk away became part of a growing trend among public figures choosing not to validate hostile platforms, but to instead carve out their own. Her next public appearance wasn't on a rival talk show, was at a round table of young entrepreneurs in Oakland, where she was greeted with standing ovations and thoughtful questions. The contrast was striking. Gone was the performative tension, the passive-aggressive jabs. This was a space of listening, engagement, and purpose. Meanwhile, whispers inside the network began to leak. Producers allegedly clashed over the edit of the episode, with some claiming that key moments of the confrontation were softened or omitted to downplay Morgan's aggression. One insider even alleged that Meghan had been set up for a combative segment from the start, despite prior assurances of a respectful tone. While the network neither confirmed nor denied these rumors, speculation only added fuel to the growing belief that the spectacle wasn't spontaneous, it was strategy. But what they hadn't planned for was that walking away might be Meghan's most powerful message yet.